What's going on, guys? Vulkan here, and today we are covering some of the biggest mistakes that players make. Now, a lot of these are kind of new player mistakes. I know I made a lot of these when I first started, and some veterans kind of pulled me aside and they were like, hey man, here's some things you should be doing. Here's some things that will really help you or you're not taking advantage of. And I wanted to get all of these into a big list. That way everyone has access to them all in one spot. So I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Let's go ahead and get things started with number one. And this is the biggest one. This was a big kind of mind change for me. And that is, don't waste your time killing everything, right? Killing enemies in this game, just clearing trash, is awful experience. It's not worth your time. So if you're someone who's like, oh, well, I want to kill everything because it adds up over time, it really doesn't. You know, you're looking at 2 experience per trash mob that you kill, and you need like 300,000 experience to level up at level like 10. So it's not exactly a good use of your time, and it's not worth slowing down to do. Now, this includes in dungeons and out in the world. Only kill the things that you need to progress your quest. So you'll have situations where it's like, kill all these enemies to open up this gate, or kill 10 of these enemies to complete this quest. That's the only time you should actually be out killing things. Otherwise, run past them, because your main quest completions are going to be your primary bread and butter for leveling up. So don't waste your time killing trash. Let's move on to number 2, and that is, don't bother with matchmaking on dungeons early on. The time and gear is not worth the wait. So you're going to hit all these different dungeons as you go through the main story. You're going to be like level 10, level 15, so on and so forth. It's not worth matchmaking if you want to go fast, right? If you want to play with friends and you want to get the whole kind of group experience, absolutely. Matchmake, have a great time. But if you're somebody that's like, I want to get to 50 as fast as possible, don't waste your time matchmaking. Don't waste your time waiting for other players. Literally just do the normal version, hit enter, go through it, blast everything. You're going to complete it way faster, and you're going to be able to get to max level quicker. So that's something that, again, really was a big struggle for me, because I was like, oh man, I'll play with other people, and then when we're in a group, we'll be able to blast through stuff, you know, more quickly. And that's not the way it works. You take more time trying to put a party together, and then you jump in, and then suddenly, you know, players are all over the place, and we're not all kind of going in the same direction, and people want to clear everything, they want to kill everything, and it ended up being much slower than if I just did it myself. So let's move into number 3, and this one is going to be good and bad for some people, okay? So don't focus just on one character. Make sure to level your alts. Now, I know for some people that's like, why? I like just having one tune that I can focus all of my effort into and do everything with, and I don't like alts because I don't want to re-level again, and I get that. And there's something I'll tell you here in a second that'll help with that. But make sure to level alts. The reason I say this is because your end game dailies and your weekly rewards are all shared. So if you go through and do these on multiple characters, you're going to literally multiply your rewards. If you have 3 alts, so you have like 3 total characters, let's say, then you're going to get 3 times the rewards that you would in a single week with one character. And that's the big thing, right? Obviously you don't share gear, but you share all of those different currencies, different unlocks, and all of those things. So having alts is going to give you tons of extra resources to use on your main character. You can funnel everything in and feed that one character if you want. You can take those alts and park them all over the world. That way you don't have to worry about like traveling, right? You don't need to get in your ship and go all the way across the world to complete some of your end game stuff. You can have an alt on that side that completes that one. You can have an alt on another side of the world that completes those. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can do in order to kind of maximize your efficiency when it comes to end game. So I know for some people that love alts, this is going to be music to your ears because it's more rewarding. And for other people that don't like alt, it's going to sound like a really kind of painful experience because you're gonna be missing out on a lot of stuff. Now, number 4, this one seems a little simple, but it's something that I think needs to be said. There's a balance to using potions. You don't want to use a potion every single time your health drops to like 75%, but at the same time, you also don't want to die because you're trying to save every potion that you have. So be wise with them and be frugal with them, because you will need them towards end game, especially higher level potions. Now, the lower level ones that only restore a little bit of health, those ones you can blast through, have a great time. But when it comes to end game, make sure to save those high level potions because you'll need those later on. Now, the other thing are grenades and consumables like the movement speed cloaks. These are things that you don't really want to use while you're leveling. They're going to be wasted. They're not exactly going to be as efficient or effective as they could be towards end game. You have things like your frost grenades, your fire grenades. You have those movement speed cloaks like I was talking about. Those are going to be crucial when you're doing high level content. Being able to either get out of a mechanic, being able to kind of speed through something, those are all going to help quite a bit. They come in handy. So make sure to hang on to those and don't just use them willy-nilly. Don't just run into like a group of trash mobs and throw a frost grenade in there and blow everybody up. It's just not a great use of your resources. Now, number 5, this is kind of an end game one here. So we have Guardian Raids. Now, for those of you who are kind of out of the loop, Guardian Raids are similar to Monster Hunter. So you're going to go into a arena and you're going to have to find and locate a boss and then kill the boss and then harvest their essence. It's super metal. It sounds really hardcore. But here's the deal. You don't really know where this Guardian is, right? This boss, and you're on a time limit. So there is a way to easily and quickly find these bosses in these arenas, and that's by using flares. So one thing that I see people do is not use their flares. They have flares, and you can use them and it's going to immediately show you where the boss is. That way you don't have to waste time. You can go straight there, clear the boss, and then move on. So the problem is these flares are mentioned very quickly during the first time that you complete a Guardian raid. But if you're someone like me who spam clicks through dialogue because I don't got time to read all that, then this is something you could easily miss. And if you do, you're not going to realize there is a much easier way to clear these and a much faster way to clear these. And you're probably going to be that person that sees somebody else use a flare and you're going to be in chat going, what was that? How do I do that? And they're going to say, hey dummy, it's a consumable that you can use and it's on your bar. And this is going to be something that I think a lot of people might have questions on, but make sure to use flares in Guardian raids because again, these speed up your clears and they are 1000% useful. Moving on to number 6. So this one is about gear upgrading. Now I know, again, this is something that I fell into very early on, but only upgrade the gear you need to take on harder content to then get gear that is a higher eye level. And what I mean by this is don't feel like you need to upgrade every single piece of gear you have early on, right? I'm talking tier 1. Don't feel like you have to go in and upgrade every single slot because the problem is you're going to be upgrading gear that's going to be replaced pretty easily when it comes to accessing harder content, which is going to drop better gear. It's a waste. So it's a balance between upgrading what you need to access harder content and then taking the gear from that harder content and investing in that rather than investing in lower level gear. Now, again, this is something that a lot of people might miss because the tutorial just kind of says, hey, make sure to upgrade all of your gear. That way you can do more stuff. And that's not necessarily the best way to go about it. I went through, upgraded my weapon first. That way I had more damage, all that fun stuff. Then I went and I upgraded a few pieces of gear that allowed me to have a higher item level. Then I could access harder content, which then dropped better gear. And then I started taking that gear and investing into that and kind of repeating the process. Because here's the deal. Let's say you get your helmet and your gloves and all that stuff to 340, but you leave like your legs by themselves back at like 302. Well, let's say you get a new pair of legs that drop at like 340, 365 or whatever. And next thing you know, you have that 302 that just got upgraded to a higher item level and you don't have to spend any sort of resources on it. So that's something that I think is going to be key, and it's just going to be a balance. And that's something, if you're not picking up on it in Lost Ark, there's a lot of balance. You don't want to waste resources. You want to manage them appropriately. You want to take advantage of them and use them to their full effectiveness, because if you don't, you're going to be extending your grinding process. You're going to be spending a lot of extra time trying to get those resources back that then you can go back and correct your mistake. So there's a lot that goes into it, but that's number 6. Let's move on to number 7, and that is use secret maps when you get them while you're leveling. If you hold on to them, they're going to give you obsolete gear because you're going to out-level them. Now, this only counts for the maps that you get while leveling, right? You can go craft maps to use in late game and end game, so don't worry about those. I'm talking about as you're going through, you're clearing trash mobs, they drop a secret map, you pick it up, make sure to take care of that relatively soon. That way you can get a full advantage of whatever drops in those dungeons. Typically, it's a piece of purple gear or a high level blue, and you can take that and throw it on your character, and suddenly you're more effective. So make sure to use those as you get them. Number 8, this is a very quick one, but it's very important. Don't skip crafting nodes, okay? You need to harvest these as you go. Don't feel like you have to fully clear an area when it comes to harvesting nodes, but you want to make sure that you at least hit the ones on your path. That way you can level up your trade skills and keep those things fresh and as high as they can be, because trade skills are going to be very important later on. So you don't want to get behind and then have to go all the way back and re-grind a ton, because they're not exactly exciting or interesting. The effects you get and the things you get from them are, but going through and just clicking on a mining node and watching your dude mine isn't exactly woo exciting. So this is something that I think is really key. And even if you're power leveling, even if you're trying to level as fast as humanly possible, make sure to at least stop and take care of these, because they're going to pay dividends later on. So we got 2 left. Number 9, this one we've talked about a little bit in our other numbers leading up to this one, but that's don't skip those dailies and weeklies. These are things you need to do, right? They're going to just boost you and send you all the way through end game. And if you miss out on these, then you're going to be leaving a lot on the table. So don't just focus on 1 or 2 things. Make sure to check off all of these boxes daily or weekly. So let's go ahead and let's talk about these. So the first one is Epona quests. Now, Epona quests are like your dailies, right? If you're from World of Warcraft, you know exactly what I mean by dailies. These are quick, basically like chores type quests where you go and kill 3 things or you collect 5 things, and they're very fast. They're very easy to complete. They're spread all over the world. And this is what I was talking about with having those alts, kind of parking them all over the place. That way you don't have to go and travel so far to take care of some of these. Now, the rewards here aren't exactly exciting. They're not huge. They're not anything like woo crazy, but it's the reputation that you get for completing these that'll then boost you with certain NPCs that you're helping out, right? This is the affinity system, and these will pay dividends down the road as well. So make sure to do your Epona quests. Then we have our chaos dungeons, right? These are perfect for upgrading your gear and getting upgrade materials. So make sure to do those. You have void dungeons, which are your 4-man hard mode dungeons. You can do these once per week. Again, they drop really good gear, so you want to make sure to do those. Abyss raids are your 8 to 16-man raids. These ones, again, are weekly. You want to make sure to take care of these. Now, early on, you're not going to be able to just jump in and just knock these out. So this is something you work up towards. But once you have access to these next 3 things, then make sure to do them, right? Abyss raids, Legion raids. This is the hardest content in the game. They offer the best rewards, but you want to make sure you do these when you can. That's the thing, right? Is a lot of these things, you're not going to be a high enough item level, but if you're not paying attention and these unlock for you, you're not going to be getting those rewards. So you want to make sure to keep these kind of top of mind, that once I hit this certain threshold, I'll be able to do these raids. And then at that point, I'll be able to get the best rewards that I can. Now, number 10, the last one we got here is titles. Don't forget about your titles. So titles might seem like a very kind of superficial thing, but they're not. They actually give you small stat boosts and they're free to use. You literally just click it and throw it on. And next thing you know, boom, you got a couple extra stat points and they're going to help you out. I mean, it's free, right? That's like, hey man, do you want to take this little extra boost? No, that's okay. I don't want that. No, take it, take some time out, pick your titles that are going to help your character and your build, and then get them equipped. So guys, that is everything when it comes to making mistakes in Lost Ark. That's 10 kind of key tips. All of these are things that I did when I was playing, and some veterans were like, hey man, you're doing this wrong, or you're forgetting about things. And I was very grateful. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't just sit on this knowledge, get it out for you guys all in one video. That way everybody can access it and be prepared for when Lost Ark releases in the West. I hope everyone enjoyed this, but I do want to ask, do you have any tips that weren't on this list or mistakes that you made that you want to tell other people about? If so, leave them in the comment section below. But as always, thank you so much for watching. This has been Vulkan, and I'll talk to you next time.